Well, Marian Pasella, thank you for joining me today on the show. I'm really happy to have you here. And one of the reasons I want to talk with you is because scrolling through Facebook, as one does, I came across a post that was attributed to you and then shared in a few different places. And we'll just put it up on the screen here. And this post had to do with organizing play when you have a couple of courts and a wide range of people coming to play. And the sign, I don't know if you're the one who created the sign or it was a team of people, but it gathered a lot of attention. So I was hoping that you could tell me a little bit about sort of what's going on behind this sign. What were the problems that you were trying to solve? What is it that sort of led to putting up this kind of post on the fence?
Perfect. Yeah, I'd love to do that. So we're in a 55 plus active community in Arizona. So people come here from all over in the winter, mainly snowbirds. And we have 4 courts in our park here for at least 150, 160 players. Lots of people prefer to come in the mornings and just, drop in and whoever's there, they play with them. We have another whole schedule for all the rest of the hours of the day. But for the 7 a.m., because we're early birds, until 10 a.m., it's drop-in time, all skill levels. Well, something that we did not know was we put a lot of people through our beginner lessons. So we have people here who will hold beginner lessons every week, and we just have dozens of new players. Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't realize that they were afraid to come to open play in the morning, even though that's the coolest time. This is Arizona. It gets hot later in the day. So we just had no idea. So we talked about it among a few of us and said, well, how could we possibly address this? We don't have enough courts to just have, the 1 O's here and the 2 O's there. So what could we do? So someone came up with the idea of let's experiment and make 2 of the courts what we're calling nuanced play. And the other 2 courts, we call it aggressive or basically anything goes, which will address the idea of when you play on courts 1 and 2, you're likely not going to get physically hurt because that's kind of the idea. We want to nurture the new players. We want them to get excited about pickleball and keep coming back. So we did this experiment for 1 season. We said, let's see how it goes for 1 season. And oh my goodness, it was a really big success. So what happens is newer players or people who are never going to be in tournaments, they don't care how they play, they just want to get exercise. They fill those courts. The aggressive players, the competitive, the tournament players, they're having a great time on the other 2 courts. But the beauty is, and we've seen this through the years now, the newer players, they say, I kind of like this. I want to see what they're doing over there. There's nothing that says you can't play on any court. It's just that you know which rules, and when they're kind of, loose, but you kind of know the sort of the rules of each kind of court. So if a beginner player goes to the quote aggressive courts, they know they better have their paddle up. They know that anything goes. Mm-hmm. And plenty of our experienced players and upper level players go to the not beginner courts, but the nuanced courts. And there's 2 reasons for that. They get to show the beginner players, here are some interesting shots you may never have seen before. And the newer players love it because they're getting to play with the big boys, but they know they're not going to get hurt. So it's been a real win-win for our group here.
Well, that sounds really great. And I mean, that was something I saw in the post, is that comments about how for our particular community, that seems to work. And I think you said it's been now 3 or 4 seasons since you've had it. Yeah. And I think it also says pretty clearly on the sign, like it's not that people are forced to play on one side or another, right? Yeah. They can move back and forth between the others. I think it says somewhere like, just please honor the intention of the court, right? Or the rules of different courts.
Good memory.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought it was an interesting way to deal with a perennial problem that we see in lots of different places, which is, hey, how do we create a community atmosphere where we want lots of people to come and play pickleball together? How do we do it in a way where it's still fun for everybody? And for people who, for one reason or another, might not be comfortable out there with sort of the harder hitters, how can we still sort of incorporate them and include them in a way that they feel good about being there, but doesn't at the same time sort of take away from the rest of the group who maybe want to play a different kind of game.
Exactly. And the other thing is, I saw on some of the comments, it's very interesting to see some of the comments. They thought, well, we weren't, people aren't going to learn all the different shots of the game. They're not going to ever be prepared for the hard hitters and all. That's not really true because, again, what we're trying to do is nurture people to feel comfortable, to get conditioned, to figure out what the movements are in pickleball. And there's a lot of, they get to see a wide range of shots. I mean, one of the early lessons I saw you talk about, and it was very informative to me, is newer players, they don't dink. They don't know about dinking. They're smacking the ball and smacking the ball. That's fine, but they're not hurting each other. Okay, what we're trying to address by these sort of rules is the very advanced, strong players who really could hurt somebody if they're not being cognizant of the other person's skill level. This sort of addresses that, and everyone buys into it here. And since we all do buy into it, every time we get new people, advanced or beginners, we explain what the court situation is, and then they can come and participate.
One of the questions I saw is, well, what happens? Let's say you're on the court where you're not hitting so hard. If someone does hit a fast ball, right? What if you're playing and you do get, I don't know, someone does speed it up for one reason or another? Is there some sort of penalty for them? Are they do they lose the point? Do they lose the rally? Are they kicked off that court? What happens if things start to get a little fast on court number one?
Well, yeah, that was a great question, actually. I appreciated that. Nothing happens. First of all, again, I wasn't, you can't, there's just so much you can say in a post. It's not that the rallies aren't fast. It's not that there aren't hard rallies, volley storms that go on. The idea is to remember who you're playing against and not try to give them a welt on their stomach. Okay. So there are fast rallies. And if you do hit somebody by accident, you don't get kicked off. You don't get berated. Nothing bad happens. It will be the case that people on the court will say, oh, hey, could you tone it down a little? I can't handle that. Okay.
Okay.
And then there's going to be some people who don't really want to abide by that, but I got to tell you, here at Tower Point, it is such an amazing group of people. So we're pretty fortunate that way. But no penalties, no police. There are no police here.
What about the idea pickleball involves hitting fast? So let's say, as an example, let's say you and I are playing pickleball together, and okay, if you give me a low ball that's down by my ankles, you know what, it's probably smart to hit a slow shot of my own, right? But let's imagine we're playing and, we're keeping score and all that, and I get a high ball, that's chest high or head high. And what about the argument that even with new players, we want them to understand when they have good offensive opportunities, when they have chances to hit fast and to end a rally, or at least push pressure on our opponents? And what about the argument that if we sort of say, oh, it's got to be slow over here, that in fact, we're actually doing something detrimental, where these players are now sort of learning that even high balls that most of us would say, oh yeah, you should smack that one, even those high balls are balls they should hit back slowly. How do we respond to that kind of question?
Yeah. So when we talk about it with our people, we do not say you have to hit everything slow. If you notice, even on that sign, because I kind of looked at it again and I thought, oh, do we really say that? It says limited hard shots. So it really is the case. Even in our beginner lessons, we teach that if somebody hits the ball up on you, oh, that's your opportunity to hit down and you could hit it with pace. The main thing we're striving for here is if you're the experienced, strong, hard player, don't shove it down their throat. That's really all we're saying, because they won't be able to protect themselves. And I do want to say, so again, for our 4 little courts that we have, over the course of a day and the course of a week, we have every kind of activity that everybody could want. So we have hours where you can reserve a court with just the few people you want to play with. We have hours that are dedicated to 1015s 3 times a week, 2025s 3 times a week, 3-0s, 3-5s, 4-0s. So everyone also has their slots during the week. And also, this is a resort. So there's lots of happy hours and there's line dancing and there's this and that. So everybody knows, how to get their pickleball play in during the day and for whatever particular kind of play they want.
Well, it sounds great. You know what? We're running short on time, but after this conversation and sort of seeing the post, I bet some people would be interested in learning more and maybe even seeing your little forecourt area. Can visitors come down? Is it open to the public? What if someone wants to come and play where you are? How can they do that?
Well, it's a resort, and so they need to be a guest, and so they should probably contact me, and I can arrange for them to come check it out.
And what's the name of the resort again?
It's called Tower Point RV Resort. It's in Mesa, Arizona.
Sounds great. A lot of good pickleball in Arizona. I'm going to let you go off to your pickleball. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and to tell us about this new and kind of innovative way to organize courts and try to make it fun for everyone. Maybe what you need is more than 4 courts.
That's coming.
uh,
Thank you so much, Mark.
that's great. Thanks. Marian Fasella from Tower Point. Would you call it the Tower Point Pickleball Club?
Sure.
Sounds good.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. Thanks again, Marian.
Take care.
Take care. Bye. Are you ready for a snack?
Yes.
All right, thanks for joining me on this episode. Not just me, thanks for joining me and Cecily on this episode of Pickleball Today.
Oh, that's a cool.
COVID edition. We're going to be out of isolation in no time at all. When do you go back to school?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, that's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Nice. So we're going to be back in school. I'm going to be back on the road coaching some pickleball in no time at all.
You're not going on the road. You're not going anywhere.
Thursday.
You're going on Thursday, but you're not going anywhere else.
It's a 6-week trip. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. For Mark, no, I'm Mark. For Cecily, I'm Mark. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.